And here we go. It's time for a battle as old as time itself. No, not the war between gravity and my hair. It is the war between England and France. Welcome back, everybody, to the casted series of 1v1s here on the channel. More top-tier players to present to you here. So, on the red, we are going to have our representative for England on Highview. It's going to be Wham, 0-1. Currently 180 games, sitting in 17th place and nattering away at David. Probably going, oh, David, I'm such a big fan. Oh, you're the best developer in the world. I love you, David. Oh, David, you're amazing. Please, give me a chance to win. And the reason he's going to be saying that is because David Kim, over here in the blue, playing as France, is currently sitting 37th on the leaderboards with 1,780 elo, 276 games played. So you see that we have got the big fish, all right? Top 40 game. Let's see if it delivers on that level, though. On Highview, we've definitely had some interesting outcomes, especially featuring England recently, utilizing the outposts courtesy of the Stealth Forest, allowing you to creep and crawl in and also get maximum value, drawing your opponent in underneath range of your towers before they realize they're there. And the importance of that, by the way, for England is because of that attack speed buff, remember. They get the network of castles, which when they are nearby and an opponent is nearby, any units in range of theirs get a bonus attack speed. Although, keep in mind, it is still bugged. I think it's about 13.7% attack speed buff for Longbowmen. Man-at-Arms is 18.7. I think Spearmen might be the only ones that get the full 25% attack speed. And then, of course, if you get the upgrade to put up to 50% later on in the game, just double those values I just gave you. Nonetheless, though, 13.7% attack speed buff while also maintaining vision and giving soft fallback points is worthwhile, right, for 100 wood. So you really can't complain. Although, give us our full damn numbers, Relic, all right? I demand refund. I'm one of those people. Whee! I still use the product all week, but where? I'm gonna refund it. Where? I'm just shaming people, aren't I? Like there are some people that do that, where with the money back guarantee. Oh, this food was delicious, and now I'm going to get my money back. But no such options exist in this game. I guess in some ways you can argue that the relics are money back, right? You buy with gold and you get it back in the following minutes. I don't really expect to see much play around religion in this game. Just these two civs are to the big neglectors, right? They are the hereticals. It's not really surprising when you consider the issues that France had with the Protestant Catholic split, just like everyone else. So I know that was kind of a generalist approach. But then on the other side, England moves away, creates their own church. It's kind of fitting. Opening-wise, we haven't really talked about it because it's just standardized. There's not going to be anything different here. It should just be your standard Council Hall from England and School of Cavalry from France, allowing them to go into the deer to collect them via the pro scouts with the scouts. And on the other side, I'm expecting Wham to very quickly transition into farms. Even the berry bushes initially might be tempting. You might just ignore them, though. Remember, the thing for England that makes it very easy to go into farms early on is they pay half price. So it's actually feasible off the starting sheep to immediately go into farms if you want. But usually that initial wood is being heavily utilized by these England players to push out up to maybe 12 or 15 longbows in the early phase of the game, even if you plan to play for later, just so you have that early aggression to offset anything from your opponent. So, School of Cavalry. Is there a mill dropped yet as well, actually? Really important details. Usually you want to line that up to have the mill drop. The problem for David is he doesn't have the gold surplus at the moment. So I'm wondering if he's just kind of delaying this a little. Maybe prioritizing getting the first knight out before he gets pro scouts. Probably not feeling pressured, right? Because as we said, there's no realm in which I see an England player going pro scouts. So it's not like you're going to lose it if you don't go for it straight away. But look at this. Wham is ramping pressure quick. Not only is he about to complete the Council Hall, but he's going to drop a Rax in conjunction with this. Something we don't see done immediately by a lot of players. But understandably, when you're up against France, it's one of those classic matchups where you should anticipate there's going to be knights coming and build a few spears anyway to be safe. You don't want to lose your longbow investment. Remember, the longbows aren't exactly cheap, costing 40 food and 50 wood, so actually being more pricey than other archers. And this might actually just turn into the meta from over a month ago. Remember when France was too dominant due to the power of cavalry? And more or less all we ended up seeing was a very unfavorable matchup, I'd say, for England. Because what would happen is you build longbows and spears, and your opponent would be building knights and archers. And of course, those archers are more cost-effective than longbows and counter out the spearmen. And the spearmen just die too quick, which they do against the archers. Then your longbow line always ended up being exposed to the knights and ran through. So tech up fairly close, and there it is. Yeah, as expected. First knight comes out, then it's going to be followed by a scout. Mill has been dropped, and Pro Scouts is being currently researched. David actually lined this up perfectly. Got to give him credit for that. And I like that he goes for the knight first because of how long Pro Scouts takes, right? You can see he's still got 45 seconds left on it. So it's better to get out an early knight and then just push out a few scouts in prep for picking up those carcasses. In the meantime, spear and longbow is going to be the encounter for the Royal Knights, so already down to almost half HP. Not the way you really want to begin your assault there. An early longbow is moving about, trying to get vision on the scouts. I love what Wham is doing here, actually. He's setting up a bubble, right? He's trying to create a guarded zone so that even after you've started investing these pro scouts, you won't be able to return the carcasses for free. And if he gets the positioning right on this, it could really hamper David's progression because France is one of those civs that A, either needs pro scouts or B, needs access to pocket economies to keep their food levels up as they don't transition to farms too quickly. And these longbows, ooh. Spears gonna bait him in. He has to back off. Remember, one-on-one, these spearmen in a hardened status actually fare very well against the Royal Knights now. After the bonus damage, right? Because they increased it now to be a total of 28 damage per stab. There we go, charge in. Engages with the spearman, and he's panicking, Loses the scout, almost loses the knight as well. He has now got the archery range down, but he needs more. This isn't good enough. Your opponent already has an advantage over you, right? So you're going to get outmassed at this rate. Because remember, the production time in your archer is 15 seconds. Meanwhile, over here, 7 seconds to the longbows. And although they're slow to move across with their sluggish 1.12 movement speed, once they reach here, they're here to stay. And your initial engagement is always going to lead to you having 1 or 2 casualties on your archer line, courtesy of that extra 2 tower range the longbows have. And this is kind of worst case scenario for David right now. You did not want this to happen this way, right? Like, you're playing as France, you want knights. You can't really afford them. Your gold line is choked. The second one is so far out down here as well. And this is the curse of high view. And this is what I'm noticing a lot of players getting smarter at. If you have an early advantage type civ, you need to look at the layout of the generation. Because usually high view is fairly balanced in terms of the layout to a certain extent, such as the distance to go to a gold vein, right? And if you identify, as you would have playing England in this situation, that the second gold vein is very far away, it's probably similar for the French player. And that means that you can starve him out completely. And if you do that, France is nothing. It feels like nothing in this matchup, at least. Because if you go for horsemen, well, there's already a few spears in place. And then if you're just going for archers, you're outmassed already. And now look at this, the longbows moving in. Nice move away, just in time. Final volley comes out, though, and snipes another Villy. And Wham needs to keep doing this, remember, because France do produce those villages quicker. And it is all wood. And the reason it's all wood is because he can't get the carcasses in easily. He's going to sneak him in here. Nicely done. David, really well played there. That could have been much worse. And this is because Wham hasn't got enough longbowmen to split them up. He has to keep them grouped together. And that's where that movement speed we talked about works to their disadvantage, right? The 1.12. That's meant to be a balance point around longbows in the early game, right? Yes, they can be overwhelming. Yes, they can be oppressive. So the counterbalance point is that, oh, well, they move very slowly. So you can kind of weasel your way around them to a certain extent. Now the blacksmith's going to be dropped. I like this play by David. David actually needs some quality in his range units. He's going to need the resistance more than anything here. That should be the first thing he actually grabs. I don't even want to see him go steeled arrows. I just want to see iron undermesh as your first selection. We'll see, though. He might feel that he's somewhat inclined to go the other way, and the reason he might feel this way is because in this situation, your chief concern is that there's going to be enough longbowmen that one extra range resistance will not save each individual archer. But it can make a difference long term. Oh, look at this. The outpost isn't going to be quick enough. That is pain. Again, denied on the gold line. He has to cancel the outpost and back away. This is so oppressive out of Wham. And Wham, at this rate, he could slow down a little and start to scale if he wants. But look what he's doing instead. He wants to end the game. So he's going into siege engineering. There's 2 choices when you reach this point as England. You either stop bulking and just use this as an aggression force to slow down your opponent, and then you look to TC up via the Castle Age, getting that second town center courtesy of your landmark, and then you scale as well, if not better than France, or you constantly apply pressure like this. And he's going to do it again before the outpost can go down. This is so frustrating if you're David. David just keeps missing the mark. He needs to be quicker. If anything, he needs to be building outposts on both sides. Instead, he'll just fall back to the lumber line at the back of his base now. He is still building up the archer count, but he's still outnumbered, right? It's 16 versus the 13, and we're seeing the issue as well. If you never get in and kill longbows off, this is what happens. Plop down a campfire, get out some mutton and some lamb chops, and just enjoy an evening before you go back into battle as the good old longbows. I don't think I don't think Wham should keep producing spearmen, by the way. I think that's hurting his scalability here. There's no reason to have more than this count of spearmen now. Like, you have 9, your opponent still doesn't have any knights because he can't access his gold line. If you invest more into spears, all you're doing is preventing yourself from scaling the game. So I'm really not a fan of this out of Wham. It's almost like he's paranoid that something's happening in the back of the base. But because he keeps revealing on the side of the scout that no one's using the gold line, he knows nothing can be happening in the back of the base, right? Nothing that concerns you that requires spears, at least. And look at this move. He actually takes the one knight across map. Because remember, he did get chivalry, so he's like, damn it, I'm going to get the value somehow. Longbow does get separated. Scouts chasing in. We'll have to give up. Baton Ram has been completed now. This is where you can start to put a dent in everything. And that one knight did get chased away, so he's going to need a wee little bit of time to heal himself up. Oh, he didn't actually get chivalry in the end. I thought he started researching it. I guess he cancelled it. Ram in. Once the mining camp's gone as well, you don't have to linger in anymore. It means your opponent can't just sneak in gold every once in a while. And David, he's going to have to make a move soon. 23 archers versus the 19 longbowmen. So he could try and take a fight here. It's going to be wonky, though. Here you go, longbow's getting ready to scout on the edge. He still has no melee units to engage. You'd have to use the peasantry, and you don't want to lose too many villages to the longbow fire, which will occur. And he's just pushing out as many scouts and knights as he can. He can just about afford one. Ram is going to back away for the moment. Wham is being very kind of methodical about this. The reason being is he doesn't want to take too much damage underneath the TC. He doesn't want to risk getting raised, especially when the TC can target the longbowman if you come close. So if he puts the batter ram there, he risks it being burnt to a crisp. He hasn't got surplus economy in the wood front for that. And then also on top of that, you have to consider that it takes way too long to get through a TC. And after I said all that, Wham decides to actually prove me wrong and run a ram in and basically have it die. Because now it's sitting at 60 health and it's almost dead. That was a very big misplay out of Wham to try and kill a house. I don't like that play. I think that was really awkward. You didn't need to force that. If anything, you should have been coming around here for the mill first and then wrapping slowly into the wood line. Misses a trick and gets punished for it. More longbows still trickling out. Scaling on the economy a little bit. You can see at this rate, Wham is going to be ready to actually go up because he's now switching over to farmlands. Double on the farmlands, right? Double mill. So I expect him to look for a tech up in the next 4-5 minutes. David at this rate is going to be stuck in the feudal age for, I'd say, around 200, 300 years. Kind of accurate for the times, really. Just, you know, role-playing it to the truest form. He'll probably never see castle age at this rate. Unless Wham does... Wham? No way was this intentional. He just pulled back the entire army. What? What? Why? In what world? For what reason? What? Okay, I guess Wham, he made the decision that he's going to scale better. We said this was an option, but the crazy part to me is how much he invested in an early army and then stopped with the pressure. So David just got a breath of fresh air and a chance to recover. And he never lost the archer army, remember. So he matches Wham's investment on the military front, and now he can try and exceed him and get up into the castle age quicker. We'll see if he can do it. Remember that David was setting himself up to have surplus on the wood front, so he'd be able to actually trade for the gold as well. So he was prepping to be in a situation where he'd be able to still reach castle, but it was a long way off. But now with that breathing room, he's able to start collecting gold. He's also now able to do this, to go out and collect more of the carcasses. And it means he's going to be able to sustain his economy. And even if Wham does beat him to the castle age, it won't be by much. And Wham, well, I was about to say, if you're going to run this longbow across the map, that's way too late. You missed your opportunity. Window's closed at this stage. I think the other move you could have done if you were Wham is you could have moved forward and dropped an aggressive outpost or two. And then you would have had the info to, like, preemptively make moves. You would have also had that juiced up attack speed. Everything would have been good. But looks like he settles for this. King's Pass now being built near the tree line over here is going to allow him to boom up a little. But David, as we said, is going to have that breathing chance, right? That room to right the wrongs of the world. And with such a big archer army already in place, he could be somewhat scary. Yeah, even walls coming out. So Wham, just being smart about this. Understands that because he backs up like this, despite the early advantage he had, he's still playing against a cavalry specialist Civ. So there's always that risk that you get raided. So he wants to get rid of that exposure on the sides immediately, give him all this room to farm on, right? Literally, by expanding with farmlands. And then just push an army from the forward of his base, as you can see where his military district is slightly built up already. I'll say, you know, the England music in this is very peaceful. I do kind of miss the good old classic days, though, guys. You know what I'm talking about? Like, for example, Stronghold, when you come under siege in that game. Damn, that soundtrack. That soundtrack, I can listen to it day and night. It's like, it's not quite IIR epic anime music levels, but you feel it. There we go, Wham. Gets up first. David, still not even beginning the construction yet. It's still lacking on the food slightly. And I don't know what David is doing with these people. Was this accidental? No, this is just who's going to use to build up. 19 people? Holy crap, he's going to catch up quick. We said there wouldn't be much difference, but I meant in the start, like, you know, completion of castle compared to the start of construction yours. But David identifies he can't afford to be behind at this stage. He needs to fix this right now. And then he needs to get out, and he needs to aggress his opponent's base. The problem is the army is starting to build again, right? So archer count at 53. Meanwhile, on Wham's side, he's currently sitting at 38. Lombos are still being produced, and he could even upgrade them soon. And in fact, he should prioritize that right now. Really big missed trick, in fact, that he hasn't. And you can see on the eco side, that advantage that David had, courtesy of building villages quicker, has already disappeared after the early harassment in conjunction with the fact that Wham now has the King's Palace also producing villages. Oh. Knights riding in. Big mistake. Wrong neighborhood, son. Especially when you get in range of these outposts, as we just saw there. Ding, 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 and all of a sudden you're all dead. He did sneak these scout... What? How? Where? When? Am I missing something here? Did he just wrap these in when we weren't looking? It must have been before the walls went up. There's no way he ran past the TCs and didn't lose the scouts. He might have wrapped around on this tree line, possibly. There we go. David's going to try and fix it and drag out. This is giving a lot of scalable economy at the moment, and he needs it. And he also needs these mangonels. He needs them fast. And there's so many longbowmen here. Longbows peppering away at the archers. There's going to be a problem, though. Once they spawn, you can just lose all the longbow in the blink of an eye. And I don't think there's anything similar. Yeah, there's the siege weapons are finally being built by England, but it might be too late. Mangonel shot's going to come out. That does a little bit of damage. As long as you get the troops away and don't lose them, even if they're heavily damaged, you're fine. Because remember, you have campfires as England. And there we go. Scouts trying to break through the walls. They're finally going to be spotted and chased down by a few troops. Wham. Small advantage on the military front. Not as big as you'd like to see, especially with double mangonel already in play. Wham. We're starting to see how he missed a trick. And this is the problem, guys. When you come into games like this and you have that early aggression and then you let up, you take your foot off the neck of the beast, be prepared for them to bite back. Because that's exactly what Dave is doing here. And you have to question whether Wham should have retreated when he did. There was no reason to. There was no logical play behind it. Maybe your opponent continues to scale an army. Maybe he continues to build archers. But if you just move forward and drop an outpost, that's all you need to invest for a long time. That attack speed equals up the difference in conjunction with your extra range, and you can still hold there while keeping your opponent off the goal line. And that would have extended your advantage in this age by another minute or so. Well, low play is going to be a whiff. And Wham is in trouble with his little monkey poo here. Did at least already bank one relic, so he's getting gold trickle that his opponent isn't yet. But you can see now David is trying to grab that up as well. Cool to see so many civs just starting to engage with religion. I know we said that these two don't at the beginning of the game, and historically that's been true with Age of Empire 4's release. But after the exposure to the Roost meta, and people getting used to denying the relics and playing around the relics so much, people have just started to respect and understand how much additional income it gives you in your economy. It's just worth trying to go for, right? You invest 200 wood for the initial building, and then you pay 150 gold for a monk, right? Maybe 2. And if you get free relics for that, in 10 minutes, the amount of money you made is just absurd. Look at this. He's hiding in the stealth forest. This shot. This shot from the Maganel and the Lombos as well. He could kill all of the villagers, but he's not doing it. No, come on! Wham! What is going on right now? A Maganel shot there would have decimated the villagers. Here we go. Shot in. They're stacked hard. They back away. But the hit on the archers are good. And the Sprills are now sniping under the Maganels. The Maganels dragging away very slowly. The movement speed is 0.88 right now. Everyone is backing away slowly. This is not good. Maganel shot in. Hits him again. David, come on! He refuses to leave the Maganels behind, and he still might just lose them anyway. Turnaround shot. Not good enough. In comparison to the hits you just took, this is not looking good. Lombo count is superior to the archers, and then they have the superior quality as well. And too many archers for these knights to get close. He's going to forfeit more ground. That could have been so much worse, though, if Wham was paying attention initially with the Maganel, and he gets the first hit onto that villager line. So many of them just died to the follow-up arrow volley, right? There's just so many hits there waiting to splash. Lombo's paid in. He's back away quicker than this. They move slow, and they're being punished for a big mistake by Wham. Maganels are pursuing somewhat. Count is still on Wham's side, though. Springle does move in. It's hard to kill, though, with the repairs that are here. It's so easy to keep these Maganels up when you've got villagers nearby. Ram, baiting them in a little bit. Maganel looking for the shot, can't quite find it. Springald on Springald here. Should be able to finish this one off. One more shot up, but the repairs! 2 Sprills isn't good enough. He can't get through it. The villagers are keeping it alive. He needs to hit with the Maganel. But he does get through the Springle just in time. And now his Maganel down to 16 health, but so many archers are now dead. Spinman going to chase in. 35 Longbow to the 39 archers here. Wham is keeping the pressure on. Maganel shots in again. They do get through one of them, though. Baton Ram. AFK. They finally figured out what was stuck in the wheel. They'll pull out a small child's leg, and they'll continue to roll one in before being killed off by the archers at this rate. And Springles forcing the Maganel back again. There's 3 Springles now, so if you get caught by all 3, you're insta-dead. This Maganel still on 16 health, but that might be all it needs. Shot in. Looks decent. Not good enough, though. Only gets 1 or 2. But that's good enough, David. He can't forfeit more ground. He'll finally surrender over. He loses another one of the Maganels, and that's enough to convince him. He cannot support the replacement of these vital troops and these vital siege weapons, and that will give Wham the win. Make no mistake about this, though, folks. Wham could have won this sooner. I definitely think that Wham... The option was there for him to back off and understood why he'd done it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad choice. It's maybe just not the optimal. It's hedging your bets, right? I think it's the choice that a lot of players make because the whole concept of an all-in at that moment, especially when you take such an early advantage, doesn't feel that good because of the risk it goes wrong, right? Like we said, the Lombos are slow to reinforce. Even when you have the numbers, they have to get across. And your opponent, you can't quite see in his base, right? He's amassing his archers at the back. So I think from Wham's perspective, thinking back on it, you know, hindsight is 20/20. God vision is 50/50, right? We see everything. And from that perspective, I think that's why he didn't engage where we thought he should, is that we can see absolutely everything, and he's a little bit blind. So I understand Wham pulling back. In hindsight, he'll probably look back at this and realize he could have hung around. I found the mistake for me wasn't that he backed off, is that he backed off all the way to his base, especially with such a static army. But in the end, Wham, he knew what he was doing. He bided his time. Missed a few opportunities to do a lot more damage, as we saw, especially that Maganel play, not firing when it's in the stealth forest next to, I think it's about 20 villages. But overall, incredible plays out of him, giving the winners England against France, and it shows you exactly how you can still shut down this Civ in the early game before French Knights even become a factor.